Well, first of all, I'm just state this: your question's flawed in itself. You're asking for undeniable proof.
No, I'm not asking for proof of God. I'm just asking for any evidence.
All right. Can I prove? Can I give you evidence of my soul existing?
Evidence of your soul?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I'm saying can I? Like I'm asking you a question.
Yeah.
All right. Show me some, please.
What?
Show me some.
What are you talking about? Just can you
I
just
said
give me evidence of God, please?
show me evidence for the proof of a soul.
What? I'm not
So,
making that. I'm not claiming that it exists. You're doing.
so wait. So you don't believe in a soul? Do you believe in a soul? Or
No.
do you?
What the
So
fuck
if you
is a
don't believe in a
soul?
soul, God is a spiritual being, and if you don't believe in a soul, then you can't believe in God in itself because God is a spiritual being. So you're claiming to believe in nothing spiritual.
Congratulations. So how do you know a soul exists?
I know a soul exists because when I look into the love of my mother's eyes, I know it's not just a chemical bond between us and our brains going off. I know it's something deeper, and I can feel it within myself. So
Okay.
you're so based off your own logic, you're claiming that when you look
No,
into
no,
your mother and you
no.
feel
So
love,
you
it's just
you
chemical
just
bond.
you just made a ridiculous claim, right? You just said, "Oh, I know it's not chemicals." How do you know it's not chemicals?
Well, because it seems more logical and faithful to say that it's not chemicals. If everything around me is
Why?
just
Why? What's the argument
if
for that?
everything around me is just chemicals, then if something goes wrong, I don't blame it on the human being. Being, notice that term being. I blame it on the chemicals. So if
Sure,
we blame things for chemicals,
please listen. You're confused, and a lot of theists do this. They'll say, "Well, we're just chemicals, so that means we're nothing." No, we are human beings, which consist of chemicals. That doesn't degrade our value of existence. And we are still beings who can love and think through chemical reactions. That's perfectly valid. And there's no need for a soul at all.
okay, I see what you're saying. However, if you think that there's no need for a soul, then do you believe that our my love to my mother is just chemicals? Based
Yes,
off your,
it is. Everything you do is chemicals,
so
sir. You're
if it's
made of
just
chemicals.
if it's just chemicals, then what dictates our life is chemicals, not anything deeper.
Yes, that's sir. When you say
So
deeper, when you invoke the word deep experiences, all you're talking about are a particular sequence of chemical processes. So, you're pretending as if there's something more here. You're trying to inject that into your argument. You
no,
don't
no,
need
no, no.
you don't need
What
a
I'm trying to
soul. You don't need magic. Love is chemicals. Thoughts are chemicals. Every thought in your body is a chemical reaction. Every heartbeat is an electrochemical reaction. We are biochemical beings.
that stem from what? If it's not God.
We don't have to stem from somebody. We could have always been in some way.
Well, that's God. That's the argument for God.
No, in other
God is
words,
always and always
we
will be.
always existed in some way. There's no need for a God.
So your argument that there's no need for a God, however, we can clearly see based off the foundation of society that there's a need for higher authority. Therefore, do you not think the highest authority would be God?
There doesn't need to be a highest authority. That's
Yes,
nonsense.
there. Oh, if there doesn't need to be a higher authority, then I have a question for you. If a strong man comes in and stabs a woman and kills her and she bleeds to death, somebody needs to punish her. If there's no higher authority, who punishes her?
No, I said highest, not higher. I
Yeah,
agree that
highest,
I
as in.
agree people can be authority figures, but there does
That,
not need to be a magic wizard on top of the world going,
I never claimed a magic wizard here. I said we need a highest
okay,
authority
then you don't
to
need God.
dictate us.
Then you
So
don't need God.
then what dictates our morals if it's not a highest authority?
We do.
Chemical reactions?
We
Well,
dictate it. We dictate our morals.
what's the need for dictating morals if it's all chemical reactions? It's all going to vapor away anyway.
Sir, everything you do is a chemical reaction, so stop pretending as if
No,
chemical
no, 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 no,
reactions
no,
are
no.
somehow not real or not
That's not what I
valid.
said. That's not what I
They're
said. I said,
valid.
what's the.
Yes, you are. You're implying this. You're implying that because we're chemicals, nothing has meaning. That's nonsense. Us as chemicals can give things meaning.
Correct, but what's the point to it?
There doesn't need to be some objective or absolute point to existing. We just do because we want to. We enjoy life. That's all you need to live, to enjoy life.
Okay, back to the highest authority thing. You said there does not need to be a highest authority. So we're not going to skip over that point. If there does not need to be a highest authority, then who will punish that man who killed that person for no reason?
A person who's an authority figure.
No. A person who's authority figure, which would be a higher authority, correct?
Yeah.
So if we keep going up, will we not reach the highest authority?
You don't need to keep going up and up and up. That's nonsense.
No, that's my question. My question is, if we keep going up, will we not reach the highest authority? If you suppose it's not God, but it's a king.
That highest authority is an arbitrary thing. You can stop at humanity. You don't have to go further.
No. What I'm trying to say here is, if we keep going up, would we not reach a highest authority if it's not God?
The highest authority does not need to be God. It could be a person.
But can the highest authority be taken out?
Sure.
Then why would it be? Why would it be?
You don't need a highest authority, and it does not need to be a God.
Okay, I have another question for you. If this is all right, if this is all some coincidence, what do you have to say to the millions of people who have testified about some God coming to them and changing their life?
Well, first of all, this is a straw man. I never said it's just a coincidence. It could be the case that this is a deterministic world we live in which there is no other way. But furthermore, I agree that many people have claimed to have seen God, but this happens transculturally. It happens throughout all humanity, through dozens of different types of gods. People claim to see Zeus, Mithras, Horus, Bigfoot, right? There's all kinds of claims of people seeing things throughout history, but none of them have concrete evidence, especially not your God.
What do you say about Jesus Christ? Would you not say he has concrete evidence?
There's evidence that a guy named Jesus may have existed, but there's no evidence he was a magic wizard.
Yeah, do you not know about the 10,000 manuscripts that we have?
I don't care if you have 1 billion manuscripts, sir. The manuscripts you have are the same source, and they're just copies of each other, which are all unverifiable mythology. Talking snakes, talking donkeys, none of that stuff happened.
Well, going off that, you do understand that some of them originated from Hebrew. And
congratulations, it doesn't make it any more true.
No. For you to say that historical evidence that I've presented to you cannot be true, so then, based off that logic, you're going to say that Alexander the Great, we don't have good enough historical evidence for him because we have more historical evidence for Jesus than Alexander the Great. You know that, right?
I'm sorry, but we actually don't. We have only one source of evidence for Jesus, and that's the Bible. And I wouldn't even consider that evidence.
You know what the Bible is, correct? You know what it's made?
It's a story. It's a collection of stories that were completely unfalsifiable in every way. They're just stories.
Collection. So many stories. Many stories. And you know that there was a convention a long time ago where they all met up.
Sure, you keep saying there's many stories. That doesn't matter. The quantity of nonsense does not make the nonsense.
Like I was saying, there was a convention, and they all met up, and they went, okay, this. They knocked out some stories, actually. That's why there's some books there people say should have been the Bible, it shouldn't have. And they said, based off evidence, these are the best collection of books, and we're going to put together and make the Bible.
And okay, so did that for Harry Potter.
Let's
go and visit and let's talk about Harry Potter. There are many different stories out there that have the same origins as yours. Why is yours any different from the giant green stalk and the beanstalk and the Bigfoot and all the other gods that have existed throughout history?
Well, because this man, he claimed to be God, and then he died and rose. How many of them rose?
None. There is no evidence of somebody rising from the dead.
Correct. And if somebody, actually, no, but we can go off the witnesses, the eyewitnesses.
Where?
Mark, Matthew, Luke.
Who was
Mark, Matthew, Luke, John. And you have to think about all the Roman Christians who were persecuted and died for what they believed to be in vain. No, it wouldn't make sense, would it?
The Gospels, Mark, Matthew, Luke, and John, all those Gospels you mentioned were verbally translated throughout decades after Jesus died. They were not contemporary witnesses. They came after the fact, 30, 40, 50, 60 years later. They are not reliable sources especially not of eyewitness testimonies. There are no eyewitness testimonies for the resurrection. There is no evidence at all for a resurrection. All you have is a story.
There are eyewitness testimonies passed down. For example, do you know how Native Americans get their knowledge? They pass it down through stories. Just because something is a story passed down does not make it unbelievable.
Well,
It
have
does
you
not make
played
the knowledge
telephone in
unuseful.
school? Have you ever played the game telephone in class?
Yeah, I play that game.
Yeah, when one person has a story and then, or like a sentence, and then it goes around the entire classroom one by one. Every student whispers it in each other's ears. And by the time it
Yeah.
gets to the last student, it's a completely different story. It's exaggerated. It's taken stuff out, added stuff in. It's a completely different story. That's why the Gospels are not reliable, because we don't know what the actual original source was.
Okay, I see what you're saying there. However, there has been a multitude of people who have claimed the same thing, and the stories have been passed down. And also, the telephone example is just one word. One word being passed down and miscommunicated, misdirected by a bunch of 8-year-olds in a class is not the same as men dying for what they believe in, and we can record that over the course of thousands of years versus the telephone game.
Well, the Mayans died for their gods. They believed in sun gods, and they would literally sacrifice themselves, kill themselves to please their gods, the sun gods. Do you think the sun gods are real?
No, you know I do not believe in the sun gods.
Okay, so then somebody dying for a belief does not give any more credence towards that belief.
No, because the sun gods never rose. If somebody prophesied, if somebody claimed to rise from the dead, and then 2,000 years later, they were still being preached about in mass, and it was the most popular religion ever, would you not think perhaps there is a God? Because the chances of that happening seem so astronomically low.
No, the reason why is because I know you're convicted in your belief. I know you're super convicted. I know you think there's so much evidence, but you haven't presented a single shred of evidence today. All you're doing is repeatedly saying, he rose, he rose, he rose. But how do you know he rose? You don't.
Well, I can't prove to you with 100% certainty. However, can I prove to you? Tell me something that I can't prove to you with 100% certainty.
I'm not asking for proof.
Like I said, the love of my mother, I can't prove to you 100% certainty that I loved her. However, through my actions, you can see that. So,
there's evidence of your love for your mother.
If we can't prove,
there's no evidence of a resurrection.
If we can't prove with 100% certainty that Jesus rose, we can look at the evidence, go based off the evidence, and more likely than not,
you're not
more likely than not, Jesus rose.
You're not listening, sir. I never said I need proof. What I'm saying is I need evidence, and there's a difference. Evidence is indicative, right? It indicates something is true. Proof is completely conclusive, right? There's no doubt that this thing is true. I'm not asking for proof. I'm asking for evidence, data that may point to a resurrection, and you have none.
Well, can I go here? Is eyewitness testimony not evidence?
It's not good evidence, and
so your argument is the eyewitness testimonies were not preserved correctly based off a telephone game.
No, it's based on the fact that you have one source, and it is completely unfalsifiable. Do you know what that word means?
No.
Okay. When something's falsifiable, it means it could be tested. It could be proven wrong or, proven wrong or right. And so far, the Bible, there is no way to falsify. In other words, there's no way to test if the Bible is true or not, because there's only one source. In order to test, you need different counter data. You need certain variables you can change. You can't do that with the Bible. That's why the Bible on its own is not evidence.
How so? How has it been falsified?
It hasn't. It can't. The point is it cannot be falsified because it's just a story.
So your argument is if something can't be falsified, it therefore can't be true.
Well, it can't be demonstrated to be true. But furthermore, there is actually good reason to think the Bible's not true. I mean, it gets a lot of things wrong about the early Earth. It wasn't the case that plants came before the sun. That's nonsense.
Sorry, repeat that. I like it.
Donkeys in the Bible. That makes no sense. Adam and Eve, right? Noah's Ark. These things never happened.
No, well, Adam and Eve for the argument of creation story is just as philosophical as the argument for evolution as creation story.
Evolution.
If we go back,
no, I'm sorry, sir, but evolution is a fact.
Well, I have a question for you there then. Can you show me the missing whales that died, and then as they were changing into land animals. Can you show me those bones? We should have millions of them. Animals that were in transition. We can't find any. It's weird, right?
We have thousands of transitional fossils, sir. In terms of whales, we have Pakicetus, who was one of the transitional forms between four-legged animals and whales. We have their fossils, sir. You just haven't seen them.
Also, I have another question for you. Werner von Braun, when he died, he put in his tombstone 19:1, which says, "God declares the firmament of the earth." You know about that, do you?
Can you get to the point where you demonstrate God exists now?
So what I'm trying to say is, if people such as Werner von Braun cannot, with 100% certainty, even claim that what they did was true and correct, how can you claim with 100% certainty that you don't think the Bible is the evidence?
I'm not saying I'm 100% certain, but you're not certain at all that it's correct. So that's the problem. You have no good evidence to think it's correct. I don't need to be. It doesn't need to be disproven. I just want you to demonstrate it, and we have no reason to think you're correct.
Yeah, like I said, eyewitness testimony. Well, how can you explain?
Okay, who are these eyewitnesses?
Like I said, Mark, Matthew,
no, sir. You do not know the scholarship behind this. I'm sorry, but no biblical scholar agrees with you that these are eyewitness testimonies. Again, they were dated 40, 50, 60 years after Jesus died. They can't be eyewitness accounts.
Mark, Matthew, Luke, John. Now, can I go and say this?
I'm sorry, sir, but those are anonymous authors. They're just named. They're just placeholder names. We don't know who actually wrote those stories.
Correct. Just like we don't know the authors of many ancient texts. However, that does not disprove the authenticity of them.
Well, the problem is that in terms of historical texts, there is additional corroborating data that further testifies for the things in the text. We don't have that for the Bible. All you have is a story, and most of the stories are mythological in nature. They don't correlate to reality at all. So, last chance to give evidence.
Okay, well, you said they don't correlate to reality at all. But if we're talking about God in the flesh, don't you think it would defy reality in itself because it's God in the flesh? Wouldn't that make correct?
And I could do this with unicorns. If unicorns didn't exist, why wouldn't they just be able to, fart pixie dust and fart unicorn dust out their unicorns? Like anybody can make a claim. Anybody can create a story and say, well, of course unicorns can fly. They're unicorns. Well, this is what you're doing with God. You're just making it up as you go.
Okay, all right. Actually, honestly, I'm just ask one more question before I go. What's your end goal here?
All right.
Hey, how are you doing?
Hi.
Hi. I actually, I don't know, should I ask the question first or
Whatever you like.
in science, you do believe that energy, it never dies and it just changes? Changes
Energy never dies. Well, energy is a mathematical property of matter.
It is with physics and mathematics. It's physics. With physics, it's been
not a substance, but yes.
It has been proven scientifically that energy does not die. It just changes the same way that, let's say, we die, they put us on Earth, we're energy, plants are going to be grown.
I just want to be cautious before you use the word die, right? You're giving it some kind of like humanhood.
No, it was it was an example that I'm not just talking only about the energy of electricity or.
It can't be destroyed.
And energy cannot be destroyed.
Right, it's always conserved. Okay.
This has been proven.
Okay,
so the energy had to be started somewhere, somehow. Or it is. I mean, it is. You can't just, we cannot say in one hand, we believe the energy it will never ends, and it just changes the form of the energy. But to believe that it starts from nothing, from no energy.
Well, if energy is always conserved, there is no start to it.
There's
Energy
no start,
is
yes.
always there in some way.
Always there, yes. So at least we agree with that, okay? We just agree, seems like me and you, that whatever the energy is, that it shows in this different shapes and different forms from us as human beings, from the plants, from the stars, from the sun, from the nature, from everything. I mean, the energy is everywhere. It just, so we agree on that. And by the way, my first language is not English. So that's why it might be some difficulty with me using exact words to describe what I'm trying to say.
Okay.
So when we talk and we think about that, okay, it's going to start to make you think that something is been proven, and through thousands of years before any religious, because you were just talking to this guy, mostly your conversation was about religious, okay? Yeah, if you talk about just religious, there is always a lot of ways to prove certain religions or are
Ma'am,
religious.
can you get
But
to your
we're
point now,
just
please?
we're just talking because you just said strongly the word seems like God is imaginary. To me, the question I was going to ask you, you also saying like you're sure God is imaginary. Can you tell me more that what is your proof that God is imaginary? Yes, in a lot of ways with human beings, because I mean, God, it's so, or something that created all of that. It's so huge and it's so big that, of course, as human beings, that we are evolving, we are changing, we are every day we're learning new stuff. It's hard to prove. It's hard to prove.
Miss
And of
Ladybug,
course, yeah, well, it's been imagining.
I have a question.
Sure.
Why do you think God exists? What's the evidence?
Because as a scientist, when you talk about, we just talked about just energy, and then it can go to other aspects of the science. The proof of being something created all of this, it's much stronger than there is not. Because this is in science.
Okay, great.
When you go in so
what
many
created?
ways,
So how do you know something is created versus it being not created?
okay, you see, that's again, we're using, it's language also, it's so limited. Created, we can use any other words. It's just something with the limited, like right now, I'm limited in English language to explain what I'm trying to say. So to say about there is God existed and all that stuff, yes, there are words that we can play with words, games with each other. But
Okay. Well, thank you, ma'am. I'm going to go to the next person.
Hello?
Hi. How are you?
Good. How about you, man?
Good.
Okay, so you're confused about whether God is real or not, right?
Yeah. How old are you?
I'm 18, born 2006.
Okay.
Okay, so God is the all-powerful, right? The creator, and we are the creation. So there's automatically a God. We're not independent. We're not all-powerful. We're gonna die someday, and there has to be a creator for every creation. We are a creation. So that's automatically.
So who created God?
God is an eternal being. He has no creator. That's like saying who baked the baker.
Oh, okay.
It makes no sense.
So everything has a creator except for God, right?
Of course.
Right, of course. But couldn't we just say, hey, maybe we are in a way eternal and hence no creator? Couldn't we say that?
No, because we're all gonna die one day.
Well, we die, but when we die, the energy remains. The energy goes out into the universe, the air, the water, the soil. So when we die, that's just a chemical process that stops. But matter remains forever.
Okay, let's say you're right, but are you all powerful though? You're not.
So that automatically proves you're not God. Doesn't matter whether the energy
Well,
remains
what
or
do you
not.
mean by all powerful, right? Now, this
All
is
powerful
a
means
bigger question.
you could do anything. You're the creator of the universe. You're the Lord of all creatures and beings
Can
in the
do
world.
anything. God can do anything.
Yes.
So he can stop existing?
That's a non-valid question. That's like saying, can you have a square circle? That's non-valid.
Well, then you can't say he
No,
can do
okay,
everything. See?
I'm gonna tell you something.
Then you
What
can't say
God
he can do everything, right? So now you have to limit his powers to doing
Okay,
things
we're
that are
not
only
limiting.
logical.
Okay, what God is doesn't change. Like God doesn't become a human. Like the Christians, God is not a rat. He doesn't stop existing. None of that stuff. He's just
Okay,
all
great. So
powerful.
then,
The
you
creator.
can't say God can do everything. You have to reduce it down to God can
Yeah,
only
yeah.
do things that are logical. Correct?
He can do everything, but there's a difference between doing everything, your abilities, and what you actually are. What you are does not change. Your ability to do things.
But when you say God is all powerful, the word power means you can do something, right? So if you're going to say that God can do all things, but then say, well, he can't turn into a rat, well, that's a contradiction.
That's not an ability. What God is doesn't change, but what God's ability to do things,
You
you can do whatever you want.
you're not really
But
tracking here. So
that's like saying, okay, that's like saying, can you be a strong, weak man?
Sir, you're not listening. You're just trying to blurt out things that you've been taught by some Christian apologist. You have to reduce your definition of all powerful to being things that are logical, right?
Okay, I'm not Christian, by the way, but whatever. So
Doesn't matter.
I'm just gonna tell you something really quick. You are right now changing God's identity. Somebody's identity does not change. It stays who you are. It does not
We're not
matter.
talking about identity.
Okay.
I don't know why you're mentioning identity, right? We're talking
Because-
about power.
Okay, power. Okay, so does power and identity, are they the same thing? No. Can God become non-existent? No, because he cannot become non-existent. He cannot.
Yeah. Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good.
Good. All right. I've been watching for a couple minutes now. You keep asking everybody their proof of God. So I kind of wanted to switch it up a little bit since it's your live. I kind of wanted to ask you, what's your proof of there not being a God?
Which one? Which God?
God. Jesus Christ.
Well,
God.
there are billions of possible gods. I think that certain gods are imaginary because they are illogical, right? Some gods, you can't say God is all good and then there be evil in the world that God creates. I think that's
Okay, wait.
That's
Okay,
why
so
God doesn't exist.
God didn't create evil. God created everything,
Well, then who
but
did?
God didn't
Because
create evil.
why is there evil if God is all good and could stop it?
Perfect. I'm glad you asked that. The absence of God is what evil is. So good comes from God. Everything that's
Not
evil
what I asked you,
is the
sir.
absence
That's
of
not
God.
what I asked you.
That you
Why
did ask me.
is it possible for God to create a world where there is no evil?
Say that again. You cut out a little bit.
Is it possible for God to create a world where there is no evil?
When okay, so when you guys ask questions like that, it's because you guys are it's like a burden of proof fallacy. You guys don't want to prove what you guys
It's a
are
question.
trying to
Sir.
prove.
It's a question.
The question, you guys you're getting off track. I'm asking you the evidence of there not being a God.
I'm doing it. I'm asking you questions to interrogate your view. Can you answer?
Okay, let me ask you another question then.
No.
Do you
sir.
believe?
Sir,
No.
no.
No. You get to do this to other people. So let me just ask you one more question. Do you believe that everything has a creator?
No, nothing has a creator.
Why is that?
There's no evidence of a creator. Things
So what created you?
Nothing created me. I wasn't created by a human factory. There is no human making factory. We
The Big Bang
are the
Theory. Is
products
that what you
of
believe?
evolution. We're the products
Evolution
of chemical
as,
processes.
evolution is true as a process. Evolution as a genealogy is not a thing. It's been proven. It's been proven
Oh,
false.
really?
It's a theory.
Go ahead and disprove evolution. Let's hear this.
I just said evolution as a process is true. That's a we can evaluate that, but evolution as a genealogy, as us being
Sir, what's a genealogy?
why see you, every time I state
Sir,
something, you always have to
do you
ask
know
a
what a
different
genealogy
question.
is, sir?
I do, and I do, or else I wouldn't
What
have
is it?
said
What's a
that.
genealogy?
Okay, you're trying to get off track. You're trying to get me off track because you don't like what I'm saying.
Sir, what's a
Okay?
genealogy?
What I'm saying is God is an intellectual designer.
Sir,
Everything that is
why did
created
he make
has a
us?
creator.
Then why did he
Everything
make us
that is
with one
created.
hole to eat and breathe from, such that we choke every year and die?
Okay, see, like, what kind of like that's like, what kind of question is that?
Well, it debunks the intelligent design
How does it debunk the intelligent design of God?
because no intelligent designer would design us with one hole to eat and breathe from, or such
How,
that we
how many
choke to
how
death,
many holes should
or
we have to
allergies,
breathe from?
or heart attacks. Why would God design our body such that we can be
Heart
ready
attacks,
walking
heart attacks
and
are not from
then
God.
we get a heart attack?
Heart attacks is caused from humans. All the suffering people, every time an atheist says, "Why
Sure.
would God cause a world to have so much suffering?"
Sure.
All the suffering comes from us. Yes
Sir,
or no?
do you understand that babies can get heart attacks? Did you know
Yes,
that?
that is true.
Do you
Okay.
think that baby caused their own heart attack?
No, I think the world that we're living in, the evil world that we're living in, caused that.
No, sir. Did that baby cause their own heart attack?
I think the world that we're living in, okay, like I
That
said,
God designed, right? The one that God designed?
okay, God designed the world, but if you read the Bible, because the Bible is the most historical evidence that we have, okay, is the most historical evidence that is proven true.
The Bible
By-
is not history, it's mythology. Talking
It's not.
snakes, talking donkeys, a big ass boat with all the animals. That's nonsense. That never happened.
Okay, so what you're telling me, it's more rational to believe that we came from monkeys, right? That's what you
not
believe.
whatever. That's a straw man of my belief. We don't come
Okay,
from.
what is
We're not
what
monkeys.
did we
We're
come
apes.
from then? What is evolution? Where did we evolve from?
We don't come from some kind of Uber that drops us
Okay,
off
what is
on Earth.
evolution?
And
What do you
boom, here
believe?
you are.
What is your belief in evolution?
Evolution is a process that happens to biological organisms, and those biological organisms have a chemical origin through abiogenesis. And of course, there's a lengthy process, a long sequence of events that happened prior to our existence. But it wasn't like one day a magic wizard said, "What poof, let there be light," and we magically popped into existence. That never happened. There is a long sequence of cosmic and biological evolution that science describes perfectly well.
Okay, so you brought up poof, let there be light, and then we existed. You believe in the Big Bang Theory, don't you?
Yeah, and what's the Big Bang? Describe it for me.
All the matter coming together, spinning, boom. Let there be,
Nope.
let there be the world. Correct. That is a summed up version
Incorrect.
of it.
That
Yes
is-
or no?
that is-
Yes.
that is incorrect.
Okay.
The
Give me
Big Bang.
okay. Summarize the Big Bang Theory for me, because I guess I got it mixed up a little bit.
The Big Bang is the expansion of space and time. That's it.
But it all came together, right? And poosh, exploded.
Nothing exploded, sir, except for your brain.
Okay.
The Big Bang is an expansion of space and time, and we are still living in the expansion. And it has nothing to do with us popping into existence from an explosion. That's not the Big Bang. Go learn some science before you come and talk to me.
I know enough science to know that science proves there's a God.
Oh, really? Which equation is that?
Every equation points to an intellectual designer. There's no equation that points to us coming from
Even the equations that lead to people getting heart disease and cancer and microbes eating their brains.
cancer,
amoebas?
and all of that is just due to the man-made evilness in the world, and nothing bad comes from God.
Okay. So, do you know that cancer existed before humans?
It didn't.
I'm sorry, sir.
How would cancer
Cancer is a
exist
genetic
before humans?
mutation. Sir,
Science, the
cancer,
same way that you think.
sir, sir,
I'll let
listen
you.
very carefully. You're
Go
not
ahead.
going to go, you're not going to want to continue. Cancer is a genetic disease, and it happens with all animals. Many animals get cancer, animals that were here before us. And we know this because of fossil records. We can see contributions in fossils. That's the point. Cancer is not a human thing. We didn't cause it because of, we slept with each other, or two guys had sex with each other. That doesn't cause cancer. Cancer is something beyond our control, mostly, and is a product of our environments that God created.
Okay, okay. I'm gonna ask you one last question, and then I'll leave your life. The biggest proof of there being a God is love. So prove if you can prove to me that love isn't the biggest pointer to God, then I'll agree with you. How do we
No, look,
how do you explain love?
it's a chemical process in the brain, right? Serotonin, dopamine, oxytocin, all these different chemicals are secreted by the brain and give you certain thoughts and feelings. When you kiss somebody, hormones are released and make you feel good. When you hug your mommy, it makes you feel good, right? These are evolutionary measures that had happened over time to, promote those actions. And that's why love exists. It's a chemical process. And although you feel amazing, it's an amazing process, and it really is. It's great, but it's just chemical in nature. And there is no evidence that it's magic behind it, or there's some God who literally is the antithesis of love, who tells us to own slaves and tells us to,
Wait,
kill everybody in
wait.
war. That's not
Nowhere in
love.
the
God,
Bible
your
does it
God is
say
definitely
to
not love.
own slaves. You're talking about Leviticus. It never says that to own slaves. You need to read
Yes, it does,
context.
sir.
A lot of
Leviticus 25:44.
Yes, I know exactly what you're talking about. It's not the word slave. You got it from an English Bible. I'm guessing you read it in an English Bible. People take it out of context. Slave meant worker when it's translated into Hebrew. So
Okay.
it's just like every
So,
day nowadays. So like people that have
okay.
jobs at McDonald's, that you could say that's modern day slavery.
Okay. So what
Because
you're saying is in the Bible, all that slavery, all the workers in the Bible, that was all good.
No, because it talks about slavery being a thing in the Bible, but God comes and he frees the slavery that's happening
Oh, no, he doesn't,
in
sir. In fact, in Exodus 20, God says that you can beat your slave with a rod as long as it doesn't die after a few days. That's not love.
sir. Can I talk? You keep interrupting me, and it's just like it's the lack of love in your heart that shows that it's just the evil that consumes everybody in this world. I mean, I I mean, it's just
Demons
the
are getting at me.
disrespect. I
The
mean, I
demons.
mean, it's all good. It's all good because at the end of the day, at the end of the day, at the end of the day, sir, like, I believe with my whole heart, that God is real, Jesus is real, and the people.
Well, maybe you should think with your brain a bit more. It's fine to believe, but the problem is when your belief totally controls you and poisons your mind into doing bad things, into doing hateful things, into saying hateful things. That's the problem. It's okay to believe in God. However, we ought to be cautious about what we believe because it could be wrong. Sometimes fatally wrong. Hello?
Hello.
Hi.
going to take that as a no. You can't hear me all right.
I can hear you now.
Oh, perfect. Yeah. So my first question for you is, how the hell do you like put up with this? Like, how do you put up with these people, man?
Yeah, you have to learn how to be patient. Do you have a question or?
Yeah. Yeah. So just my first question is, so what would you define as God then? If you say God is imaginary, what would you define as a God?
In these discussions, God typically means the general idea of a supernatural being who has the omni properties. He's all knowing, he's all loving, all that stuff. That's the typical definition I go by in these debates.
Okay. Yeah, I can absolutely agree with that in that sense that God is imaginary. I mean, like the
Okay.
Bible, I will absolutely agree in that sense, just because I mean I can tell by the fact that you are very, very well acquainted with the Bible and you know your stuff and you do a great job at breaking down these people's arguments because they are classic
Do you have
logic
something that you
arguments.
disagree with?
Yeah. So because I do believe with God in a sense. Are you familiar with Einstein's belief in God? Spinoza's God.
Yeah, Spinoza. Yeah.
Yes. So I'm just wondering, is that possible to disprove from your? I mean, I'm assuming you're materialistic. Is that possible to disprove from your materialistic worldview?
No. First of all, if it's logically possible, then it's possible, sure. But I don't see any benefit in believing in a kind of Einstein God where it's just the sum total of all the laws of physics or the equations of nature. I think that's not needed, not necessary. It's a cute idea, but to me, it's not really useful.
I think the usefulness about it is it kind of comes from the sense that, okay, well, nature is God, everything is God, we are all
Okay.
God.
Well, okay,
with
you
that,
can sit there and relabel things that already exist as God, but a baby can do that, a toddler can do that. I'm looking for
yes,
something novel, right? Somewhere that we haven't been before in terms of learning about the world. I don't want to just
well, I'm,
say, "Oh, I'm God, you're God, we're all God," like Oprah. I want more knowledge, not the same knowledge, but relabeled in a different way.
yeah, of course. That's why I hate to label it as God. It's definitely.
Okay, great. Let's move on because that was a not productive Everybody's saying one. Okay. I don't know, guys. I'm tired. I'll take questions though.
Why do you believe that God is all good? I don't. Who are you voting for this year? Most likely Kamala and Waltz. What do you think of Ice Cube? Do you think one day we will be able to see beyond the Big Bang? Yes, absolutely. However, in terms of light, there is a limit to how far we can see back into the universe because there was no light at the Big Bang. Light had to take time for us to see. There was a time where the universe is dark and then light emerged. And so that's the boundaries of what we can see with light. Now, in terms of seeing, it's not just the light that we can see. We can also measure the universe gravitationally. So there's an emergent field of science dedicated to learning about the gravity maps of the universe. In other words, we can see the perturbations of gravity fields around the universe, and there was gravity beyond the bubble of light we can see. That's the CMB radiation. So if we can understand more about the gravity map of the universe, we can map out what happened beyond the Big Bang in terms of beyond what we observe with light. Now, in terms of if you're asking like what happened before the universe, well, that's a different question. We don't know what happened before the universe. There might not even be a before. So we don't know. We don't know. Okay. Do I believe Jesus was a real person? I don't know. Probably not. Probably. I don't know. Change is the actualization of potential. Don't use that argument. That's a bad one. Change is not a real phenomenon. It's relative. So, why do you support Kamala if she isn't vegan? Well, who else am I going to choose? Like, just because someone's not vegan doesn't mean, oh, they're bad, or oh, I can't vote for them. No, like, I consider everything before. Like, that's just one. If the world developed naturally, humans would never have been able to conceptualize supernatural. Well, you can't. The supernatural doesn't make sense to me. Why not Trump? Is it because drill? How can you like Trump? Like, I don't see it. Like, I don't see how you can look at Trump's like nonsense and go, yeah, that's great. The wall. We're going to build a bigly wall. Believe me, Kamala is a bad person. You're like, yeah, that's a great candidate. Okay. What is your opinion on abiogenesis as a sort of life? Oh, it's well based on evidence. Blitz isn't talking about Nixie, was he? I don't know, guys. I don't want drama, please. I don't want drama. I just want to do my lives and go away. Are you and Parker friends? Yes, we're still friends. I'm not gonna, go, me, I'm no longer your friend because I beat you in the debate. No hard feelings. Are you going to do another election prediction? Yeah, it just takes a lot of work, so. YouTube stinks because you put so much work into it and you get like 4 views. You sit there for like hours making, editing, sweating, and then 2 views. And like there's like 1 comment. It's like, you suck. Okay. Mike, I eat a lot of meat. Like mother, like son. How long have you been vegan? 6 years. Where can I watch Parker debate? YouTube. Everything's on my YouTube. Do I meditate? What do you mean by meditate? If you mean relaxing on my bed and thinking of happy thoughts, yeah, sure. If you mean, Mike, how do you feel about my premises? They're bad. You debated Parker? Yeah, on my YouTube. What annoys you more, religious people or meat eaters? That's hard to tell. That's like asking, what's worse, getting punched in the face or punch in the, where. They're both bad. What did I debate Parker about? Veganism. And I also made a review of the debate too with a bunch of my friends who are vegan. So you can go check them out. Guys, everything's on my YouTube channel. Everything. Link in bio. I have tons of great stuff on there about science, the Big Bang, all that stuff, time. I have so much content I put up there. Veganism, everything you need to know about veganism, everything, all the arguments against, for it. Arguments against God, arguments, all that stuff. Why did you choose this topic? Why did you choose this topic out of everything else? What do you mean? The God thing? The reason why I talk about God a lot is because God is such a fundamental thing for people, right? When people believe in God, totally like their entire lives revolve around this belief, right? So it's like building a house, and typically religion is people's foundations, right? So if I can shake the foundation of the house, the rest of the house will fall down easily, right? Whereas if I start at the top of the house, knocking off shingles, it's going to take a longer time to knock the house down. But if I start knocking out the foundation, the rest of the house will fall down. And that's why I talk about God, because I'm trying to, it's like deconstruction in a way. Now, I think it's the most efficient way of changing people's perspective on life. It can be very powerful to leave religion. Am I a materialist? Yes. Carl Sagan was agnostic. Yeah, he didn't believe in God though, but yes, he was agnostic, which is a very honest position to hold. Why is it so important to you changing people's perspective? Because my perspective has changed, and my life has changed for it so much better. I'm so content. I'm so happy. I'm so fulfilled in my life because I left religion, because I'm vegan. All these things, they make me happy. They really do. And they change everything about it. It's hard to describe, but I actually wrote a book about it. And it just makes life better for everybody, not just yourself, but people around you. I think that there's a lot of potential in doing this. Are you happy or fulfilled after your girlfriend dumped you? Well, the funny thing about that is that I don't need another person to be happy necessarily. I can be happy on my own. So I'm not attached to other people. I don't leech on other people for happiness, right? I can make my own self happy. And other people who may come along into my life, great. That's just the cherry on top. But I think that you don't need a partner to be happy. And if you do, that's actually kind of sad to me. Diana, what did she say? My life has gotten better with God in it. Well, yeah, you can say that. Of course you can say that. But the problem is that, have you considered another perspective? And that's what I'm not saying that you could only be happy as an atheist. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is, have you considered other options? Have you really considered other pathways? I don't think you have, right? And that's why you should. That's why I'm here. If you don't want to listen to me, if you're happy the way you are, great, swipe away. But for those who are curious, for those of us who want more, then deep diver into this stuff. Have I heard voices? No, I've never heard voices. But I have had instances of slight sleep paralysis where I'd wake up and I wouldn't be able to move my muscles, but I could hear and I can see. And that's kind of weird. But that just happens sometimes when you're waking. Yeah, it happens sometimes, and there's a lot of things in this world that we can't explain, that are still unexplained. But the point is that just because we can't explain something, just because we don't know what sleep paralysis is or what dreams or consciousness, doesn't mean that you can say God is there, right? That doesn't mean you get to say, well, it's spirit, the spirit world, right? We have to be cautious. We have to be careful before we start just pretending everything is magic. We have to be careful. That's all that's all I'm trying to say. It's okay to believe in things, but we have to be careful not to be irresponsible? Do you go to the gym? Yes, I do. Don't believe in Dawkins. What do you mean? Any spiritual encounters? What do you mean? I don't know what you mean by spiritual. Do I look down upon believers? I don't look down upon anybody. However, I try to look during these discussions about God or stuff. It's going to be uncomfortable, and there's no way for me to make it comfortable. For me, there's no way I can kindly tell somebody that you're wrong. Right? You have to kind of be a bit abrasive in these talks, and if you want to get your point across, if you want to enact quick change, you have to be a bit uncomfortable about it. So you gotta, be a little bit abrasive. Are Cliff and his son scamming? Yes, absolutely. They're scammers. What kind of a Christian apologist would you recommend? None. Look, I wouldn't listen to apologists. I would listen. I would look at arguments for God. I would look at philosophical. I would dive deeper than just apologetics. Apologetics is the surface level. Go deeper, but look at it both ways. Dive deeper. You have to kind of. The best thing to do is to be unbiased. But of course, none of us are unbiased. We're all biased to some degree. But, try your best to listen to both sides. And that's all I can do. That's all we can do. How do you know your perspective is right? I'm not saying I'm right necessarily. What I'm saying is there's good ideas and there's bad ideas, right? I think mine's a better idea than yours, but I'm not saying that I know I'm 100% certain, but I'm maximally certain. I'm as certain as I can be with the given data the data I'm given. And that's the best we can do, guys. There's nobody in this world that knows every fact, that is 100% certain in everything they believe. That doesn't exist. We have to be, all we can do is be accurate as we can be. And that just depends on the evidence, the amount of evidence you're absorbing. You're here for a reason. Jesus gave you a reason, a purpose. I can make my own purpose. Thank you very much. I don't need a magic wizard to tell me what my purpose is. I can make my own purpose. I can do things that are purposeful. I don't need a magic wizard to tell me that I'm purposeful, that I'm purposed. Do you believe Jesus existed? Why do people ask this? I understand. Like, I get why you're asking this, right? Because you just want something to be real. You want you're grasping for something in your belief system to be correct, to something you can be confident in. And it's sad. But I don't know if Jesus existed. Like, if you want my honest opinion, I don't know. I don't think there's any good evidence. And there's some biblical scholars that will say, well, according to the Bible, there's... In other words, there's inerrancy to the Bible. It's consistently talking about Jesus, and therefore that's evidence. Some scholars might say that, but I don't agree with that. I don't agree with the fact that because a story says that this man existed, therefore that's evidence. I don't think that's true. But I could be wrong, but at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. Whether or not Jesus existed as a person has no bearing on whether or not he was a God. And that's the point of contention here. Is there a God or not? And to me, there's no evidence for it, for either. There's no good, compelling evidence for either. No evidence of the Big Bang because it hasn't been reproduced. Well, actually, it has been reproduced in simulations. See, that's the beauty of science. There's different mediums in which we can perform tests. But also, the Big Bang is observable today. And we are still in the midst of the universe's expansion. So the Big Bang is absolutely verifiable. Now, in the sense that we can, start the universe again, that's not, you're right. You're right in that sense that we cannot restart the universe at will. At least not yet. But we can simulate it with computers, with math, with physics. Do I believe in eternal oblivion theory? I don't know what that is. Do you think time has always existed? Probably. There are different ways and theories of seeing time, right? And we don't know what the absolute fact is about it. We don't know what time is for sure, but there are different models of time, and it's plausible to me that time, at least as Einstein viewed it, is infinite. I think that's plausible. That it's infinite. But again, time is something that's still a mystery. Eternal oblivion is where your consciousness ceases to exist after death. Oh, yeah, absolutely. When you die, it seems to me that your brain dies and your consciousness also stops. It's like a light bulb turning off, right? It's like a computer shutting down. The computer is no longer working when you turn it off, and that's the same with consciousness. It's like pressing a button, and you don't experience anymore. You're not experiencing. You're not doing, and it's hard for us to fathom this because all we know is experience, right? All we know is what awareness is. So it's actually impossible for us to fathom non-consciousness. We can't, because every time we try to imagine it, we're doing it consciously, right? So it's a conundrum, it's a paradox. However, to me, I think that when your brain stops functioning, you're no longer conscious. It's akin to being a rock. And that's, to some people, sad. To me, it's incredible that we have a short, finite experience in this world. Right? People are so eager for there to be an afterlife that they're missing the now life. They miss the entire now part of their life. Right? And that's where I'm focused. I'm focused on the now, right? What's people I love, my family, my friends, my experiences, my hobbies, nature. I'm trying to soak it all in, man. I'm trying to soak in this thing we call life. And that's my focus. If there's an afterlife, great. If not, great. Either way, I'm stoked because life is amazing to me. I'm so grateful for this life that whatever happens after, I don't care. And that's a powerful position to be in. That's another reason why I think leaving religion is powerful. This perspective, which I talk about in my book, is extremely powerful. It's indescribable. But again, if there is no God and there is no afterlife, well, then a lot of theists will say, well, that means life is meaningless. It couldn't be further from the truth. Life is more meaningful if there's no God. Why? Because it means we are fragile existences, right? Our lives are fragile. We're here for a tiny snippet of time. And it's precious. It's so much more precious because it's finite. Because you don't get it again, right? Once it's over, that's it. You don't come back. And that's something to cherish. That's why I love life. Because it's finite. Because it ends. So I'm looking forward to it, in a way. And if I die and I go meet this guy, some kind of pearly white gates of heaven, and he's like, well, why didn't you believe in me? Well, what I'll say is, where were you? You could have showed yourself, right? So, charge me guilty, charge me with the death or whatever. What's the penalty for simply not believing? But hey, I'm fucking honest with myself, and I always am and will be. Whether or not God exists, I will be the same as I am now. Whether or not God exists, I will not change. I will not pretend that God exists because he wants me to believe in him. I will never do that because I have enough dignity and integrity to be who I am always, to be honest. That to me is more valuable than being up in heaven, having a beer with God. That is not as valuable to me as being honest and truthful and as accurate to the truth as possible. So, looking for a God in the universe. First cause, Kalam. The first cause is different than the Kalam, though. That's the first mover argument. The Kalam is different, but yes. The Kalam is simply, part of a longer staged argument in which it's saying that the universe had a beginning, which is question begging. It's not an argument at all. It's fallacious. Do you think religion creates morally strong people? No, well, it depends on what you think morally strong means. If you mean dedicated, yes, of course. Religion has a way of brainwashing people into thinking that they must be dedicated or else, right? So you can be very obedient as a religious person, which to yourself might be a good thing, but to me it's not a good thing always. I think that excessive obedience to me is wrong, especially when it's misguided. I think what's a more potent sense of ethics derived from a secular perspective in which we don't base our morals, our principles on what a book says, but we base our principles on what reality says, right? If I punch you in the face, it hurts. I don't need God for that. If I punch someone in the face and I understand their response to my actions, and I take note of it, and I respond with empathy. Well, that's morality. I think that's a greater sense of morality because it'll better guide you in the future. If you start with empathy and what people do, how they respond to your actions. Right? It's a better gauge. It's a better gauge as to what's moral and what's not. How does this affect you? How does this hurt somebody? How does this hurt you emotionally? How does it hurt you physically? What are the long-term consequences of this, right? That, to me, is a way better sense of morality than going, oh, what's in this page? Should I murder somebody? Let me see what page that's on. Yep, it says you can murder somebody as long as they're this or that. No, I think that's ridiculous. That is an ancient and barbaric way of navigating the world ethically. it also prevents you from being better able to foster a world that is more fruitful and prosperous, because it stops you from doing things that might make that happen. Anyway, I gotta go.